Yo, what's good? Welcome back. This is Coffee and Sports in the Morning with none other, your host, Coach Dante. And on the right side of me, I got my main man for the morning show, man, my boy Mo Better. What a better partner in crime to be on the morning show with me. And I got the man down here at the bottom, Chris, man. How y'all guys doing this morning, man? How y'all guys doing?
Good morning, guys.
Gentlemen, pleasure to be here as always.
Yes, sir. Jonathan will be up here in a minute for you guys, man. Also, Jay will be switching in on the Deandre Hopkins situation. But first of all, I got to give a shout out, man. And far as that, we got someone in backstage, man. Very smart, very knowledgeable, man. And we got our fourth member right here. We got Jonathan this morning. How you doing, Jonathan, man? What's going on, man?
Doing good. How you guys?
Doing great, doing awesome. But first of all, man, I got to give a quick shout out right quick before we get into all the topics, want to give a shout out. I know people think, Summer League is not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And I want to shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers and my Houston Rockets playing in the Summer League title game tonight. Ben Sullivan can be a head coach in the league at some point of time for the Houston Rockets. And it's a big deal for a lot of these players because Jay Huff, congratulations, got a two-way contract with Denver, with the Denver Nuggets, the center for the Houston Rockets. And it's a big deal for these coaches, for these players that's out there playing. Not only that they trying to do everything it takes to get to a training camp with that team, but they also got a chance for other teams to be looking at them too. So that's the very important in Summer League. It's just like the NFL, just like down in the NFL preseason, when you may not get a roster spot with that original team you play for, but you get a roster spot for someone else, for somewhere else if you don't make that. So I just want to give a quick shout out before we get into our topics to those two teams right there, especially my Houston Rockets. We haven't won nothing in 3 years, but the feeling of winning something, and already you see a play in the coaching, how great the coaching staff is. That means a lot to those players on that court. So other than that, we're gonna get right into the nitty gritty. So we got the reaction to the top 10 quarterbacks by the coaches and the executives. So we already know who's number one. We just gonna go who's second down the list. We not gonna just focus on the number one guy. We know who the number one guy is. We got Joe Burrow. We got Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers at number 4 for the coaches and executives. Now the scouts they pick these guys. Herbert number 4. You got Jalen Hurts at number 6, Lamar at number 7, Trevor at number 8, Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford rounds out the top 10. Dak Prescott number 9 and Stafford at 10. So we're gonna start with you, Mo. Mo, give me your initial reaction on this top 10 quarterbacks list. This is picked by the coaches, and this is picked by basically the coaches and executives right here. Give me your first initial reaction on this top 10 quarterback list. Yo, Mike.
It doesn't blow me away that they went that way. None of the names surprised me. I would say this. I know he's coming off an injury, and they've had some struggles up front with the offensive line. They've lost some personnel as far as skill positions. But at no point would I put Dak Prescott ahead of Matthew Stafford. He's just not a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford. There's probably a few guys ahead of Matthew Stafford even further up that I wouldn't say are better. Matthew Stafford has just been injury prone over the last couple seasons. But when healthy, when he's got a fully functional offensive line and his skill positions are there, Matthew Stafford has proven to be a top 5 quarterback. So other than that one thing that I would nitpick about, I just wouldn't have Dak Prescott ahead of him. Look, it's arguable that Dak Prescott might just barely make the top 10, but I can understand why the coaches and the execs would have him there. So I don't really have a big problem with the list overall.
Got you. Jonathan, your reaction to this quarterbacks list, your first reaction to it.
At this point of his career, I know, and I'm probably gonna upset a lot of people. I'm probably gonna be a little controversial. I think Aaron Rodgers is a little too high at this point of his career. Again, he had a very down year to his standards. I get it; it's 2-time MVP or 2 or 3-time MVP. Aaron Rodgers has been one of the greatest quarterbacks of the era we're in. But at this point of his career, about to be a 40-year-old, he's getting close to 40 years old. You have really good young quarterbacks who are to a level of being in the elite status, and what they've been able to do. I kind of feel like Rodgers has been slipping down to where you have the younger guys of Herbert and Jackson and Hurts right now that are establishing themselves a little bit more. I would actually probably move Aaron Rodgers down. I would say probably to 6, maybe 7. Move Justin Herbert into the top 5. I think maybe one more year of Jalen Hurts, and he would what he did this year in 2022, he does again in 2023. It all seals it for me that Jalen Hurts would be in the top 5, top 6 range. I think Rodgers is just a little too high at this point of his career. If we're talking about 5 years ago, easily okay, yeah. Top 3, top 4, top 5 quarterback. Not even going to argue that. But at this point, after what I saw last year from him, and I know going to a team, kind of going to the New York Jets, not an established organization of continuity, not a stable organization where he has been in a stable organization his entire career in Green Bay. This is going to be a big test. If he has another down year like we saw in Green Bay, I think we have to acknowledge fully Rodgers is not an elite quarterback in today's game today anymore. I think he needs to be dropped down. I think even right now, he needs to be dropped down probably to 6.
This idea that Rodgers, I think he's almost a victim of his own success because he comes off the back-to-back MVP seasons. And then last season, in a situation where he didn't want to be in Green Bay anymore, Green Bay was clearly over his antics. He didn't have any vibe with the offense or his players. And he goes out there and he still passes for 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks, 65% completion percentage, which kind of puts him right around, the top 12, top 13 range in the league as far as stats go, given everything that was around him last year that wasn't working. So I kind of push back against this narrative that just based on last year's performance, Rodgers, and his age, you can't argue that. But if you're just going based on numbers, the man puts up back-to-back MVP seasons, and then he has a top 13 season stat-wise, and people want to write Rodgers off that, he's washed or he's about to be washed or, this is the start of the downfall. And it could be because of his age. This year will show a lot with the Jets, 100%. But I think if you're just, kind of looking at it stat-wise, he didn't have a terrible season by any measure last year. My issue with this list is Josh Allen. If you're looking at going into this season, which I think was kind of what the execs were looking at, just going into the 2023 season, you have guys like Jalen Hurts, who was just in a Super Bowl. You have guys like Aaron Rodgers, who is a year removed from back-to-back MVPs. What the heck has Josh Allen done? Aside from being a Super Bowl favorite and not being able to beat the other elite quarterbacks on this list, that is all Josh Allen has done. He has almost lost to third-string quarterbacks in Miami in a playoff game, and he continuously loses to the other better quarterbacks on this list. And you still want to just anoint Josh Allen to the third best quarterback because of his tape, because he can throw a ball 70 yards down the field. Because when Josh Allen takes off, he puts his shoulder down and people bounce off of him like they bounce off of Derrick Henry. Yeah, he is a human highlight reel. I get it. Also, when things get tight, he has a terrible record in one-score games. He has a terrible... Look at his interceptions. Look at his turnovers. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. When does he turn it over? When things get tight. I push back so much against this idea that Josh Allen is just automatically the third best quarterback in the league just because of his highlight reel. Aside from that, that's all I got.
Yeah, see, this is why I miss, you know what, one player I kind of miss being on that, being a little bit, and yeah, kind of messed up with my list, not having Deshaun Watson and for a whole type of year, because if you don't know what that dude was, and speaking of Chris, you know that dude did beat Josh Allen in the playoff, right? Matter of fact, he came back and beat him in the playoff and outplayed him in the actual playoff. His first playoff game, that was Watson actually first playoff game, both of their first playoff game. But the big difference, Watson was down 16-0, was able to come back and win that game. I don't know if people didn't forget about that part right there. But Mo, if who would you, if looking at all these quarterbacks at this top 10, who would you take off? Who would you like take off? Or if you have, who would you take off this list? Who would you have to replace and put on the list if you had an opportunity?
Who would I replace?
Yeah, who would you replace and who would you like put up in that scenario, in that top 10 scenario?
So I like I said, I understand why the executives put the people on that they put on. Josh Allen has been anointed for the longest time. He's almost Teflon. If you think about it. And he's Teflon in a way that quarterbacks that have won multiple Super Bowls are, which is kind of unique. So I wouldn't take him off, but I don't have a problem with the idea that he should be lower. I would probably take Dak Prescott off the top 10 list if I was going to take somebody off the top 10 list. Look, we can kill a lot of quarterbacks. I don't know what he is. I really, when you look at his career, I really think that he's had all the skill position. He's had tons of talent. He seems like a really, really fancy version of a game manager at his best. And when he's not at his best, he's a turnover machine. So I don't know what he is. You know what I mean? Like we were just talking the other day, and we joke a lot, and it's in jest to some of the Titans fans out there. People want to come at Ryan Tannehill and criticize him, but I don't know that Dak Prescott has accomplished any more than Ryan Tannehill has, and so why aren't we killing him more? So I'm just saying, when I look at Dak, I don't see somebody that can throw you into a victory. I don't see somebody that can do the things that a Burrow can do, the things that a Mahomes can do, what we project Justin Herbert to be able to do. I want to add one thing what Chris said. He's right, and I didn't mention it. I don't have a problem with the list for this reason alone. I think Aaron Rodgers deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's one of those kind of guys. I know he's 40, but I feel like until he shows me he can't do it anymore, he's always been a top 5 quarterback. So why wouldn't I think he's not a top 5 quarterback now? You got to show me that he's not a top 5 quarterback. I know that the Jets is a new situation, but it's an upgrade talent-wise. It's not like he had a great receiving core last year. So I actually think Aaron Rodgers is ranked properly, but if I was going to move somebody out, it would be Prescott. I don't know exactly who I would put in. I just know who I'd move out.
Well, Tannehill has one up Dak Prescott with an AFC title appearance, so that's one thing you really could say about that. He has one up, so we can't act like he's a bum quarterback, and he's not a bum quarterback. The dude can, at his best, he can play a top 15 level. At his best, he can play a top 15 level if you give him the right pieces. So that is one up on Dak Prescott, someone who threw for all those yards and haven't made it to an NFC title game yet. Ryan Tannehill made it to an AFC championship game, so that is one up on Dak Prescott. But Jonathan, who would you take off? In your opinion, who would you take off, and who would you actually put in the top 10?
I would look at it, and I think it's kind of not to try to be hypocritical here, because I think what I'm going to say you could probably say about one other quarterback on the list, but probably Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has done it for one season. And we saw the rookie year. Again, I'm not every quarterback's going to have a very bad rookie year, or that's been the norm. That's the norm in the NFL. The rookie year is usually a learning year. He had to deal with Urban Meyer. By all means, I will not hold that against Trevor Lawrence at all. You give him an actual NFL coach who knows how to do his job and be able to develop and win like Doug Peterson has done in his career as a head coach. We saw Trevor Lawrence take off in the right direction, but it's only been one season right now. Let me see him do it another season or 2 or 3 years. That's a lot of the guys that we see. Burrow's now, Burrow's done it for 2+ years. Mahomes has done his entire career. I know Kellen Allen right now, but Allen has put up a lot of good numbers and has been to the postseason and has competed for to have the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. Rodgers throughout his whole career. Justin Herbert has put up a lot of good numbers and things that are out of his control about the Chargers. With injuries, coaching decisions, he continues to put up numbers throughout his career. So, Lamar Jackson, MVP. I know Dak is getting killed a little bit, but at the same time, he puts up numbers. Trevor's only done it for one season right now. He's only about to be in year 3. I think it's a little too early to have Trevor Lawrence be a top 10 quarterback in the league right now. To say who, I mean, it's very top-heavy quarterbacks right now in the league. We're very top-heavy. If we look at it and say, could Kirk Cousins at this point be a top 10 quarterback? It depends on your opinion of him because we know how he is in primetime games. The moment gets too big. But does he put up numbers himself? He does. Has he been able to, win some pretty big games in his career? He has. But we always get spotlight on the moment, the prime time, the lights getting brighter on national TV games, and Kirk Cousins absolutely doesn't show up. So can you have a conversation of Kirk Cousins being a top 10? That's your opinion of how you view Kirk. But for right now, I think Trevor is a little too early to be put in the top 10 just because he's only been in the league for 2 years with only one good year right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was a little surprised to see Trevor at 8. Normally in these conversations, I see him at 10, 11, 12, and I'm kind of like, the talent's there, right? I mean, there's no question he has the talent. He's shown the talent in college. He's easily one of the greatest pure talent prospects to come out in the last 20 or 30 years at the quarterback position. But again, to Jonathan's point, he's only done it for a year. And, even going into this season, I, for one, think Jacksonville is going to roll through that division. But at the same time, if they only won 8 games, would I be shocked? No, because I just don't know Trevor Lawrence that way to lock it in and feel super confident about it because he hasn't done it on a regular basis. And as much as I dislike Josh Allen, he puts up numbers and he puts up crazy numbers. Josh Allen's issue is postseason. That's where he kind of takes a step back sometimes. Lawrence, I agree. He needs to do it a little bit more. And as far as who you're going to, that's a tough part. Who do you replace him with? Talent-wise, I don't know if there's someone out there more talented than Trevor Lawrence. There's better resumes out there. I like the resume of a Kirk Cousins. I like the resume of Russell Wilson minus last season. But we don't know if Russell's going to bounce back this year. We don't know if – it's funny because you talk to Minnesota fans and they're like, well, is this the year that Cousins gets over the hump? Guys, this is Kirk Cousins. There's no hump he's going to get over. It's just a matter of are things going to kind of fall in favor of Kirk and they're going to get a little further than they have. What we've seen from guys like Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott, that is what they are. And what that is above average quarterbacks. So I agree. I think we could move Trevor off for probably this year and put one of those other guys on there. And then we see what happens next year.
Got you.
And real quick, I'll give a name because I think this could be a very good year for him to really consider. And it depends on, and he's out of a division that has two of the best quarterbacks that are on this list, and he's now in a division that has no top quarterbacks and not even really any good quarterbacks. Derek Carr could have a really good year in New Orleans and a very, very bad NFC South. That if he does with a weak quarterback, again, you have Mahomes, AFC, Burrow, AFC, Allen, AFC, Rodgers, AFC, Herbert, AFC. You got Jalen Hurts finally in the NFC, Lamar in the AFC, Trevor in the AFC, and then Dak and Stafford that are in the NFC is there. So 7 quarterbacks in the AFC on the top 10 list. Derek Carr, if he has a really good year in New Orleans, wins the division, puts up good numbers, he might be able to be in a conversation. Again, I'm not going to put him in there just yet, depending on what he does, but he could be part of the conversation as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
And that's the beauty of the NFC this year. If you're anyone besides Jalen Hurts, top quarterback NFC, no question.
Yeah.
After that, it could be Dak, it could be Stafford, it could be Carr, it could be a lot of people. And I think if you are a fan of an NFC team and you have a decent quarterback, you should be feeling pretty good about yourself because you're not dealing with Brady this season. You're not dealing with Aaron Rodgers this season. The path to the NFC Championship game is so much easier in the NFC because outside of Jalen Hurts, you're not playing against elite superstar quarterbacks.
Right.
Everyone is pretty much kind of clumped together, and they're going to need a couple things to kind of fall their way. But you look in the AFC, and it's the haves and the have-nots. And if you don't have it, you're going to have a hard time even making the playoffs, much less making a run. But different story in the NFC this year.
Yeah, and that's why I put a lot of pressure on Derek Carr too, because he's in a better situation than he was in Las Vegas. Las Vegas the Raiders never in Derek Carr's career had a top 5 defense. Never even you can argue they never had a top 10 defense. If you want to go technical with that, this is the first year he will be able to play with an actual elite defense. That defense is going to give him a lot of opportunities. They're going to put him in a lot of scoring situations. I believe Derek Carr will have a bounce back season and play better football this year in that dome. And plus, you don't have to deal with none of the headaches in the AFC West again. You're not the fourth, at worst, you're not the 4th best quarterback in that division. You can argue he was the best 3rd quarterback, but him and Russell Wilson played basically on the same level. Played poor last year, but I think he's due for a bounce back year. And getting Jamal Williams definitely helped them out too. Definitely would help them out. Knowing Alvin Kamara is going to be out for a little while, getting Jamal Williams, that's an end zone threat. That should definitely help him out as well. So I'm gonna start with Chris at the bottom this time. Hard Knocks. The Jets will be featuring the Hard Knocks, so you get to see what goes on with the organization, what goes on inside of the organization, inside of the building. You already know they show the draftees when they draft and everything. But you get to see the training camp and all of that. They take you in deep inside the locker room, who's getting cut. But Chris, how will Hard Knocks impact the New York Jets this coming season?
I think so much of it literally hinges on how Aaron Rodgers feels about it. Because I can see it going both ways. I can see him literally taking it as an opportunity to rebrand himself, to talk to the people, to show a side of him that we haven't seen before, almost like the Aaron Rodgers show, right? Because he's one of, if not the main reason, the New York Jets are getting Hard Knocks. So if he embraces it, and he wants to be that center of attention, and he wants to give the funny sound bits, and he wants to give his political views, and he wants to talk about the darkness retreats and the psychedelics that he does and all this other stuff, and he's just open to it, I think it could be a non-issue for the Jets. Because if Rodgers is happy, then you're going to get a happy result of the whole Hard Knocks thing. On the other hand, if things are a little rough in training camp and Rodgers isn't building rapport with his receivers and he's getting a little grouchy and then the cameras are in his face and now Rodgers sees it as a nuisance as opposed to a platform for himself, I can see it going the other way. And I can see Rodgers not wanting anything to do with it. You're still going to get great sound bites. No matter what, this is going to be gold for Hard Knocks because either he's going to embrace it and love it and you're going to get great material, or he's going to hate it and you're going to get great material. So Rodgers is going to be gold regardless. As far as where it goes coming out of Hard Knocks, that really, I know that there's stats out there. The last 14 teams to be on Hard Knocks, only one has won a playoff game. And I believe that was the New York Jets. It was Rex Ryan's Jets that went to the AFC Championship game. And again, what do you have there? Big personality. Rex embraced it. Rex embraced Hard Knocks. He was cussing. He was having a grand old time on Hard Knocks, which is why I think it could be okay for Rodgers if his personality embraces it. If he doesn't, it's just going to kind of build on to what your potential problems might already be. At the end of the day, the TV show is not going to derail Rodgers' chemistry with his receivers, his willingness to throw to new guys. If he's able to do all that and build that rapport, they're going to be an okay team. They're going to compete for a playoff spot. If he isn't able to do that, it doesn't matter how much he likes Hard Knocks because it's not going to translate on the football field.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Well, the issue is they've already asked him about it and give him his opinion and asked for his opinion. He's already kind of like the tone he spoke with. He's just kind of like, it's okay. It's we got chosen, but you can almost hear the tone like, do I really have to do this? Well, what did you expect? That's how I look at it. Is what you expect. You're in the biggest market in the country. You are one of the biggest names in the league. It's a shocker if they didn't pick the Jets. It was either the Jets or the Saints. And again, me being a Saints fan, I'm very glad they didn't choose Saints. But there's no big Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers. Who are you going to be? Who's more must-see TV for HBO? Well, clearly it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. So again, you got to have the expectation. I think that was the case. He had the expectation. He's just not happy that he's going to have to do it because that's become his personality over the last 5 or 6 years. Again, going to the darkness retreat and just turning off the world and doing out of sight type of things. Like, he doesn't want the spotlight on him. But you went to the biggest city, you went to the biggest market in the country. They were going to be stupid not to pick you. So I feel like it's more of hey, he's going to do it, but he's going to do it begrudgingly. Just because he's going to, it is what it is. How often we see him. I think ESPN was actually talking about this yesterday on the radio. They're like, hey, how often are we going to see him? Because if we're not going to see, the thought process is, if we're not going to get a lot of Aaron Rodgers, well, then what good is it going to be? Like, how good is it going to be? Because that's who we want to see. We want his personal life. Are we going to see the same things? Are we going to see kind of what was just said? Are we going to see psychedelic mushrooms on his counter in the kitchen? Are we going to see different things like, we're going to see like an incense room of his, like where he's just meditating to, I think a lot of the country just wants to see Aaron Rodgers do wacky things and crazy things. That if that's not the case, I think there's going to be a lot of questions as far as, okay, so what was the point of this if we're not going to get a lot of Aaron Rodgers out of
it? Go ahead.
I think that's where I was going. Look, HBO is banking that Aaron Rodgers does embrace this. They want all the goofiness and the kookiness that comes with him. They want to see little interactions. Maybe he makes a phone call, or Pat McAfee shows up in person and they have a conversation. They want every ounce of the Aaron Rodgers experience. The vets, the rookies, they'll take their cue from Aaron Rodgers. But if he embraces this, if he becomes good Aaron, if he becomes the Mr. Rogers version of Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be great. But if he's bad Aaron, if he's Aaron the Grouch and he's standoffish and he's kind of that guy that I'm just here to work and I don't want to be on camera, because he's bad, that'll be good too. Like, I think HBO is going to win one way or another, but it would be so much better if he pretended to be a nice guy, if he embraced his teammates and you saw him interacting with people and bringing in some of his more well-known friends. I think that would be box office, but I think HBO is going to be the winner one way or another, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to disappoint us, whether it's the good side or the bad side.
And Gene, Gene, welcome to the chat, my guy. Nice to see you here. And this is a thing I've seen thrown out there, because it's true. The Jets have made it clear they don't want Hard Knocks there. They didn't want Hard Knocks. They didn't want it from the beginning when they were the final 4 teams to, be in the running for it. And they've been pretty steadfast in their not wanting to do it. So a lot of the opinion out there now is, well, because the Jets don't want it and they've been so clear about not wanting it, you're just not going to see a normal Hard Knocks experience because the Jets don't want them there. And I'm curious about that, because that's not what the league wants. The league wants the teams that are on this show to produce good TV. So I feel like if the Jets are kind of closing doors and making it harder for this process to go, that's going to set precedent for future teams, right? Because if this is a crappy season of Hard Knocks, because it's very clear the Jets didn't want them there, and the Jets just made it difficult for the filming team, now every other team that does it, that doesn't want them to be there, is going to be like, well, we're just going to do what the Jets did. We're just going to make it difficult. We're going to close doors. We're going to hide things from them. And I feel like the league isn't going to want it to go that direction. And I feel like they're going to try to stop it from going that direction. So I don't know if we're going to get a less invasive Hard Knocks this season, because I think the league is going to be pretty aware that the Jets don't want them there, and they're still going to want to produce a quality program. So I'm curious what that looks like.
Well, the interesting part too is, and I heard this as well. So the HBO and Hard Knocks, they're competing with the Peyton Manning show, the quarterback show or whatnot. And I don't, forgive me, I don't know the name of what he does, but he's got going on. But it's with Pat Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota that's going on right now. I think it was on Netflix. Again, if I'm wrong on that one, I apologize. So they're competing with something that's, again, you have more about the players, because again, in the day, that's what we're watching. We're watching the players. Yeah, it's. I think for a long time we were so enamored as fans about what was the behind the scenes side of the team, that I think now in today's society we're more, okay, yeah, that's great and everything. What are the players doing? How are their lives are? So now you have the show that Peyton Manning is running and producing, that is picks 3 players and say, all right, we're going to be in their lives for a while. We're going to see how they do and what they're going about during the off season, during the season, and see what they, how they go about their lives. And then we'll do it next year. It's going to be another 3 players from there. So I agree. HBO better have a good show with the Jets. I think that's the reason why. They know they're competing against something else right now, and which they never had to compete with anything. Now they have to compete with something. So they picked a team that was, in their minds, with Rodgers, the best opportunity to get viewers because of the names. Because as you said, you had Rex Ryan in New York last time. Rex was all for it, loved every second of it. Bring the cameras in. Robert Saleh's not acting that way. Robert Saleh doesn't have that personality. So who on the Jets have the personality to be embracing hard knocks? Well, there's not really anybody. Again, Aaron Rodgers isn't really embracing it. So now you have a show that nobody really wants, as everybody's stating so far. They're not embracing the idea, and you're going to hope, if you're HBO, you have a good series this year, because if you don't, Peyton Manning and his group are already excelling their expectations of what they got with Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota. That, goodness gracious, what could be next year? Who could be the next group of quarterbacks that he does? And it just continues to take off from there.
Yep. When you brought up something that I just thought about, Rex Ryan put on the show, man, eating M&Ms and stuff, snacking during the show, and all snacking during the show. It was funny. Every time someone made a play on special teams, you just really saw them act out. You saw how the locker room was, that first preseason game when they got embarrassed by the New York Giants. You started seeing the players come out and being frustrated. And Rex Ryan saying, "Oh, we won the varsity game, the JV game, the JV game. I don't know about that, but I like the way they went with Darrelle Revis' contract. They showed the ability of his contract and him showing up at the end of the Hard Knocks thing, and everybody was happy. But Rex Ryan and Tannenbaum, I kind of like the Rex Ryan. He was kind of hilarious, man. The way he had all that snacks and stuff in the room. They had the whole snack room. He would eat up 1,000 M&Ms down in every pretty show. I kind of enjoy. I did kind of enjoy that. So that's a good thing that you kind of brought that up. It was hilarious about the New York Jets. So we go to the next topic. We know we got franchise tag day for a lot of some of these players, especially the running back group. You got Josh Jacobs, who's saying he won't report to training camp because, like I say, rightfully so. You can argue, but he was basically one of the reasons. He was basically damn the reason why the Jets was winning last year, pretty much winning the games last year. If you didn't run the ball with Josh Jacobs, the Raiders will most likely losing that game if you didn't run the ball with Josh Jacobs the way he acted last year. You have Tony Pollard coming off a season-ending injury against San Francisco. You got Saquon Barkley, who's frustrated about his contract. Pretty much that Daniel Jones got his, but they left him out. So they got about 8 hours to discuss a contract going on. So Mo, I'm gonna start with you. The running back group. Well, give me your thoughts, man. Give me your thoughts. Are the running backs kind of getting undervalued and overlooked a little bit?
They are undervalued, but they're also, it's kind of weird because they're undervalued. But when you think about where the league is and the value we place on an average quarterback versus an outstanding running back. It is where the league is. This is a quarterback dominated league. They pass the ball now more than they ever have in the history of the football. So running backs are diminished to a degree. Like when you look at a guy like Derrick Henry, he's kind of old school in the way that they use him. There are very few backs in the current NFL that carry the ball 30, 35 times a game. He is an exception to the rule. More times than not, backs are used in different ways. Now you have teams that have multiple backs. So you get guys that are carried 20 times, another guy carried 15 times. They platoon running backs. I think all these guys that we're talking about are important to their teams, but I don't think Dallas' season will hinge on if Tony Pollard plays or not. He's a very good player. He's an explosive running back, but he's not the kind of running back that can carry the ball 25, 30 times a game. He's not built like that. When you look at what the Giants are doing, their situation, I think it's a bit different. Saquon is clearly their best football player. He is their best offensive football player. I don't care what you say about Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes he's more of a sidekick to what Saquon Barkley does. Saquon Barkley covers up all of Danny Dimes' flaws. So they have to get him in. He may be undervalued, but if Saquon Barkley doesn't report, he doesn't play, the Giants aren't making the playoffs. And really, to be honest with you, even if Saquon comes back, drops you a 1,500-yard season, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because I don't think you're going to be able to make the playoffs with a quarterback that can only throw 15 touchdowns in a season, in a 17-game season. Danny Dimes is going to have to show some kind of major development for the Giants to return to the playoffs.
Jonathan, the running back situation is overvalued. But good answers, Mo. All the running back position is overvalued, Jay.
I mean, I don't know if they're overvalued, but how I look at it in the aspect of it, and me being a baseball guy, I'll put it this way. They're very comparable to relief pitchers in Major League Baseball. They will win you games, but you can replace them in 5 minutes if you need to.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on right now. You see the teams, if you look, the two teams are right now, at least one of the teams, Tony Pollard with the Cowboys. What did the Cowboys just do? They paid Zeke Elliott, a lot more money than what he probably should have. And I'm just going to say, I think if you ask Cowboy executives that, they're like, hey, we probably should not have done that with Zeke. So they're not going to pay Pollard after having to cut Zeke and eat money. And then after what they just did to him, so they're kind of learning a little bit on the go. And I don't know if they value, I don't know if they value Pollard the same that they valued Zeke at the time of his contract. Because again, that's the reality. And your reaction of what you've done in the past will always hinder what you do in the future. And that's what the Cowboys are experiencing. That's what Tony Pollard's experiencing. Saquon Barkley, for the Giants part, it's easier to replace a running back than it is a quarterback. And again, Daniel Jones is not he's a decent quarterback. Brian Daboll did a good job, in year one with him. What can happen in year two? I think that's what the Giants are banking on is Daboll got, Jones in the right direction. What can happen in year two with Daboll? Maybe even more of a leap. If that happens, they made the right decision signing Jones to the extension and then going from there because they can replace again. You can replace Barkley. After you're done with the tag, if you tag him this year, if you want to tag him next year, give you a little bit more time to figure out another running back behind him, and then you go from there. You can always replace Barkley a lot easier than you can replace quarterbacks. There's a lot of teams that are still trying to figure. My New Orleans Saints, we got Derek Carr after Drew Brees retired. We went with Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Taylor Heineke, Trevor Siemian. So 3 quarterbacks until we finally were able to get Derek Carr. And we don't even know what Derek Carr is going to be like this year. So the aspect of replacing a quarterback is a lot harder than replacing a running back. So I can see why it was more of a priority to sign Jones to an extension that Daboll liked. Their head coach liked your quarterback, so they went ahead and signed him and say, hey, Barkley, we don't have the money for you right now. We're going to tag you. You don't want to play on it. No problem. We probably would draft a running back in 2024 anyway to eventually replace you. We can go from there with it. Jacobs is a little bit different in situation because they let their quarterback go. They let their franchise quarterback go. They went and brought Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo, as far as in the top tier quarterbacks, is kind of on a discount. So you let your top quarterback go. It's the complete opposite direction of what the Giants did. They let their quarterback go, and they're not paying their running back. So I don't really understand what the Raiders are doing right now with Josh Jacobs because you have to go one direction. You have a top receiver, Devontae Adams is there. For how much longer? Don't know. And that might be the key, is that they're eventually just going to rebuild. They're going to tear it all down, let Jacobs go, or trade Jacobs at some point, trade Devontae Adams, and just say, hey, you know what? We need a full rebuild. So we're not committing any money to anybody else after what we just did with Devontae Adams. We let Derek Carr go. Jacobs, you're probably next on the mend as well. So the Raiders, I think they have a lot of question marks just as a whole, and why they're not doing what they're doing, or they're committing to a rebuild here very soon.
Listen, we can spend a whole show breaking down, what the Raiders are doing and why the Raiders make the decisions that the Raiders make, and we won't get anywhere. So yeah, I agree. The Raiders, I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make sense, but you can say that so many times about the Raiders and the history of the Raiders. And it's just unfortunate because if you look at the last 30 years, the running back position has gone through such a great evolution. You had your power backs that were getting the ball 20, 30 times a game, and you were building the entire offense around your running back. And then the quarterback movement started happening. And then like in baseball, there was that little thing in baseball where it was like, how many closers can we put in our bullpen and just stack up high quality reliever? Tampa Bay did it, and they did it very well. So then for a while you had, if you don't have two running backs, you don't have any running backs, right? You need that 1-2 punch. So then for a few seasons, teams were paying two running backs. And then those running backs still kept breaking down. You're wasting too much money on the running back position. So now we've kind of gone back the complete opposite direction, and the position just isn't that valued. There's a difference between valuing it with money and is it useful on the field? Yes, of course, a good running back is useful on the field, but it also depends on your situation. If you look at some of the highest projected running backs for what they're going to do this season, most of them are with iffy quarterback situations. You want to talk about Derrick Henry. Tennessee has an iffy quarterback situation. Tannehill's getting older. The two guys behind him, we have no idea what they're going to be, if they're even going to be there. Will's going to be there. We don't know if Willis is going to be there. You look at some of the other quarterbacks in the league, in the Giants, Danny Dimes, he got paid, but he's an average quarterback at best. The Raiders quarterback situation is a little bit of a mess. So yeah, I agree. If you're a team that has a messy quarterback situation, it would behoove you to pay your running back. But I also understand when you're 6 teams out there and the other, 24 or 26 are not paying the running back, why are you going to do it? Why are you going to lock up all that money in a position that nobody else in the league is doing? The NFL is such a copycat league. If 26 teams aren't paying their running backs, unless you're the Raiders, and for some reason they're not paying their running back right now, but unless you're the Raiders, who you never know what they're going to do, most teams are just going to follow suit. And it's cyclical. Will it cycle back around and the running back position will eventually find more value? Maybe. I don't think it will, though, because we're in such a quarterback-driven league now. Look at what the Chiefs just did. They won a Super Bowl with a 7th-round running back.
Running back, yep.
7th round. Like that. If you can look at that, what is the blueprint there? Quarterback, decent weapons for the quarterback to throw to, and a capable running back that you found in the 7th round that fits your system, that does what you need him to do. That's the formula. And if you're looking at the Chiefs and they're like, Pacheco wasn't touted as anything special coming out of college. Every team could have had him 6 times over. But the Chiefs got him. They put him in a good spot. They utilized his skill set, and it worked. So why are you going to go pay all this money when you can literally find a running back anywhere? And also, I'm sorry, but Barkley turned down $13 million a year. I'm not feeling bad for him. That is good money for the running back position. You should have taken your money, been happy with it, because I get it. That team needs you. But if they offered you $13 million, you didn't want to take it, that's on you. Who knows what happens now?
I mean, if you look at the history and recently, why again teams are so afraid, and I think it's more what it is. They're afraid to pay running backs because the shelf life is not very long. Where you have these guys that their prime basically ends at 27, 28 years old. They're done at 27, 28. And which is ridiculous to even think about, because everybody else in sports at 27, you are in your prime. The prime ends at 27 for running backs. But you look at the history where you had Zeke got paid, Zeke got cut. Go look at Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was the prime example of why it's used by teams. I'm not going to say just my opinion of it, but that teams use why you should not pay top dollar for running backs, because it was just he signed. He had one decent year out of the league in year 2, year 3, and after of that contract, he was done with the Rams in year 2. Went to Atlanta for 1 year, and then basically was out of the league at that point. Joe Mixon just took a $9 million pay cut basically with the Bengals on his deal to stay with the Bengals, because again, obviously there was other running backs. They could have signed Zeke to a 1 year, vet minimum type deal, or 1 year, $3 million deal, cut Mixon. And guess what? Mixon's probably bouncing around somewhere to even make a team. So these guys are starting to realize and understand that if I don't take less money, which again, my question is, again, being a baseball guy and being played professional baseball, where's your players union? Where's the representatives saying, hey, yes, we understand what these players are doing and what they're going through, but you should not be fighting so hard to just say, we're going to give you the least amount of money, take it or leave it. If you don't take it, you're out of the league. The players union has to step up at some point and say, this isn't right what y'all are doing. But I digress. That's a whole different topic. We can probably discuss it another day. But the value of the running backs, again, go back to Todd Gurley, Zeke just getting cut. You have these guys, again, Breece Hall with the Jets, first round pick for the Jets, tears the ACL. Now we're questioning. We're going to start hearing questions here in the next 2 years about how long is Breece Hall going to last in the league? That's the reality of where we are with running backs is, you're going to have one contract, their rookie contract. And basically, as Sean McVay said, we'll draft the running back, run him through the ground for 4 years, and then set him on his way, and the next is another team's problem. That's the idea of running backs in today's game.
Assuming that no contract resets the running back market between now and the start of next season, as of right now, the running back who is going to make the most money next season is Bijan Robinson, who was just drafted by the Atlanta. The man has not played a down of football yet, and he is going to be the highest paid back in the league next year, assuming no contracts reset the market. That is where the running back situation is right now in the league.
Yeah, now he did. Jonathan did break up an interesting point about the Las Vegas Raiders, saying they could be going into rebuild mode. But is they actually going into rebuild? Is they actually in that situation? Chris and Jonathan, Mo, I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Is that what they're heading to this coming season? After this coming season, when Devontae Adams getting frustrated and Josh Jacobs not getting the contract, is that what they're heading to right there in a rebuild mode? I know it, when you got Josh McDaniels, it wasn't really expected. It's not really expected, but is it what they're heading to at this some point?
It almost has to be. Again, I know you brought in Garoppolo. Garoppolo's not on a long-term deal. It's on a short-term deal. So you're looking at it and say, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to try to, in year 1, year 2, 2 years, we're expecting him to turn this around and be competitive with the Chiefs and the Chargers in the division. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. So that's why if you believe that, if you were the Raiders and you believe that, why not sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal and say, we believe in you to lead this team? No, you're going to get a 2 year deal. Prove to us you're healthy. But if you're not healthy, well, then we have nothing. Then we absolutely have nothing. We have to start somewhere from scratch. So which Devontae's already kind of been frustrated, as you said. Devontae's frustrated because the direction when he came to the Raiders, came to Vegas, was I'm playing with Carr, who Devontae believed he was a good quarterback. That's why he was so confident to go into the Raiders. He's now gone. Jacobs is not getting his contract, and I think he's just not going to get the contract from the Raiders. You're looking at it and say, okay, we have Jacobs on the tag. We have Garoppolo in 2 years. We can tag Jacobs again if we really want to. Depends on how he views and whatnot. But if we don't win, which more likely they're not, it's the AFC West. You have the Chiefs and you have the Chargers, who are both ahead of you. What direction do you have to go after that then? If you're 5 or 6 win team again, you're going to keep trying what? There's nothing to try at this point. Rebuild, sell off, and just say, okay, we'll have to rebuild, and we're going to have to start from scratch and just do whatever we can do to be a competitive team, because there's nothing they have in the groundwork with their roster currently to say, yes, they're going to be competitive.
I think they're headed for a rebuild.
Go ahead, Coach. Chris. No, you're good, Coach. Go.
I think they're headed for a rebuild because the writing's on the wall. You brought Garoppolo there, but he's a Band-Aid. And he's a Band-Aid that Devontae Adams is not going to be happy with. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't push the ball down the field. So if Devontae is going to have any type of season, a 1,300 yard season, he's going to average about 10 or 11 yards a catch. playing with Jimmy Garoppolo, which means he's going to take a lot of hits. He's going to get a lot of medicine balls. So I don't think Davante Adams is going to be happy at all with Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's going to be the beginning of it. Davante is going to be wanting out. So at some point in this season, he'll become more and more vocal about it. The Raiders look like a team that's just spinning their wheels. There is no direction. I think Jonathan pointed it out. If your running back is your best player and you know your quarterback is a game manager at best and you're trying to be competitive, in this situation, pay your running back. And look, the truth is, if your running back is that 1,500 yard back again, he will make Jimmy Garoppolo the best version of Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think if they're trying to be competitive, they've got to make some common sense decisions. But to me, just on the outside of the glance, this is getting ready to be, it's going to get ugly. It's going to be a rebuild. That Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, won't be the Raiders quarterback after this season.
If I'm Davante Adams, I am suing the Raiders for fraud. You brought me over here to play with my best friend from college, and then this 3 games to go in the season, and you start benching my guy because apparently you're done with him. I didn't come over to play 13 games with him, and then you ship him out of town. Then you're bringing Jimmy G, and you know what? I like Jimmy G. Jimmy G has won 72% of the games that he has started. But you know what Jimmy G's coaches do? They put pieces around him. They put talent on the offensive side, and he's always had a good defense. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. Your defense is garbage. So you have a garbage defense, yes, and then you don't want to give Jimmy G potentially the second best weapon on the team, which is Josh Jacobs. Right. You're just going to let him, you come play, don't play, sit, be angry. I don't care. He's got Davante. He needs more than just Davante.
Well, they essentially, they traded Darren Waller to the Giants for basically two New York subs and a pizza.
Weapon.
I mean, they didn't really get anything out of Darren Waller, who was one of the top tight ends in the league, and you get basically a New York style pizza in return. I mean, I don't really understand, how you bring, like as you said, Garoppolo needs weapons, and you traded Waller, injury history, okay, but when he's on the field, he's a dynamic player that you could really pair with Davante Adams on the field and be able to just give opportunities to go in, which Garoppolo targets tight ends very well. You don't have Waller, and your number 2 tight end, Foster Moreau, he's down in New Orleans too now. So you're starting. So who is? Hunter Renfrow. Okay, Hunter Renfrow, a slot receiver, but who are you running with Davante at that point? Who's on the outside with Davante? You don't have weapons. So what is the expectation for Jimmy then? But Jimmy's not going to do a lot because there isn't anything for him to work with. He has to have guys. He has to have guys to put up the numbers that he can put up, which is still not spectacular. We're not going to sit here and compare Garoppolo's numbers to Burrow and Mahomes and Josh Allen, but he can be comparable to a Stafford at this point of his career. He can be comparable to Justin Herbert maybe, but not with the weapons he has. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think Darren Waller checked out on the squad. To be honest with you, I thought he more likely checked out on the Las Vegas Raiders. I didn't think he wanted to be with them anymore. I didn't think he put up the effort versus Cincinnati that he did, that he showed on the field. I thought it was the writing on the wall that they got rid of him, to get rid of him. They did draft Michael Mayer, who was a solid, tight end at Notre Dame. But other than that, if I'm Josh Jacobs, I don't even know if I want to be there. I don't even know, to be honest, I don't even know if I want to end up being there because I can already see the writing on the wall last year. When is the last time? Y'all know when is the last time Derek Carr cried on a podium? Probably his first time ever doing that. That's how bad the Las Vegas Raiders were last year. When your quarterback actually cried and Davante Adams come out and question the squad motivation and their willingness to not compete at practices and on the football field and out there trying to get their numbers instead of winning games, that tells you a lot about how the Raiders organization was ran last year.
Which Derek Carr's first statement about when he got to New Orleans and not being just a Saints fan, when he got to New Orleans, he goes, you can feel a winning culture. Even though Saints haven't won in a couple of years, but you had Drew Brees and Sean Payton running the culture in New Orleans over the last 15, 20 years. It's a winning culture still there. Vegas, hasn't had that in 25, 30 years.
Got you. So we on the last topic for Jonathan pretty much. We're on the last topic for him pretty much. So we're gonna start at the bottom with Chris. With Chris, Shohei Ohtani, the Angels are listening to offers of Shohei Ohtani, but will they trade him? We all know. I'm glad the Astros got up out of that series with the Angels winning that series. It's almost like the man is a 99 overall. The man is like 1,000 overall. It's like you can't even pitch to the guy. You can't even pitch to the guy. Man has hit so many pitches, no matter where it's at. It gets to the point, you just got there and want to walk him. It doesn't even matter. It gets to the point you just want to walk the man. That's how good the man is. And then pitching when he's pitching, the only team that's able to beat Ohtani this year is my Houston Astros. They're 3-0 against him, but every other team he pretty much dominates. But they're listening to offers, Chris? Will they trade him? That's the problem. Will they get rid of him? Will they trade him? Your thoughts?
It's going to come down to what they feel their chances of actually retaining him are. And I don't know. I don't know if they feel confident about it. I mean, keep in mind, they kept Trout, which I don't think anyone thought they were going to do. I think that there was this consensus that, I don't think Trout's ever won a playoff series or a playoff game with them. I could be wrong. He may have won a game, but he definitely didn't win a series.
No, he didn't win a series, yeah.
They've never been 500 with Ohtani on the team finishing a season. So you're looking at a team that can't finish over 500 with Trout and Ohtani. So they should be having that honest conversation of looking in the mirror and being like, why would he stay with us? He's 29 years old. He has, a really good 3 or 4 years before he probably starts declining a little bit. Why would he want to stay with us? Now, obviously, foreign-born players tend to be loyal to the first team they come to in America, but I don't think he's going to stay with you. So if you believe he isn't going to stay with you, can you let him walk out the door for nothing? Can you just sit here and be like, and because that's the spin you're going to put on it, right? You're going to tell your fans, we thought we had him. We thought he was going to stay with us. We gave it our best effort. But if you know he's not, or you feel like he's not, because maybe they don't know. Maybe they've put feelers around and he won't give a clear answer because he doesn't have to. So if you just have like a 10% inkling he might come with you and stay with you, maybe that's what they're hanging on to. So they don't trade him. But they'd be stupid not to listen. At least listen to offers, see what teams are going to give you. If an offer blows you away, I would take it because I don't think you're going to resign him. Now, here's the other side of it. Who's going to make the offer? Because the team making the offer has to realize they only have him for half a season if he doesn't sign with them. So you're looking at teams like, the Yankees are saying, well, they'd be the most motivated. I get it. As a Yankee fan, I would love to have Ohtani for half a season. It would be great. Do I want to give up every little thing we have for him just to go back to the West Coast next season? Because that seems to be where he actually wants to be. That's the other thing you have to look at. If you trade for him and you're not on the West Coast, do you have the ability to sign him to a long-term deal? Because unless he brings you a championship, I mean, you saw with Chicago's World Series a few years ago.
Yeah,
they traded for Chapman. He was only there for, that little part of a season. Then he went back to New York the year after, but it was worth it. He helped them get to a championship, right? I don't think the Yankees are an Ohtani away from winning a World Series. I'm very realistic. The team isn't that great right now. So if you're a team that is an Ohtani away, I would consider it, but you really have to look at both sides of it. And again, if you're the Angels, the last thing you want to do is ship him out of there when you may have had a chance to re-sign him and now he feels a certain way. It's this whole game of what ifs. Really, it's a situation where you need a GM just to make a decision and stick by it. Because right now, I think the Angels are kind of not wanting to be that guy, but you wait too long and he just leaves.
Got you. Jonathan, your thoughts?
The problem with trading Ohtani, again, the front office of the Angels are in a lose-lose situation because if you trade Ohtani, you will have a riot. outside of your stadium, wanting your head as the general manager. They already hate the owner of the franchise. They already hate him. So what more way to just completely piss off the fan base than trading a generational player? But at the same time, if you don't trade for him, you let him walk and you get a draft pick, a compensation draft pick that's going to be more likely. It'll be in competitive A in the draft for those who know the draft in MLB, but you're not getting anything in return anytime soon. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place if you're the Angels here, because again, piss your fan base off and basically tell them we're out of the playoff race. We're not going to make a run. We're 9 games out of the division, 6 games out of the wild card, which you're still considered in the race at that point. You're not far off. So you have to look at it for the front office. Are you buyers? Should you buy? Because if you buy, you can then go to Shohei and say, we're trying. We're trying to make a run to show you that winning matters here in Anaheim and Los Angeles of Anaheim area. We're committed to winning, which is what you want. You value winning. All right, yes, you're going to get paid, but you want to win. And we are committed to that. So we're going to trade for a couple players. We're going to get some pitchers. We're going to get another bat to help you out, and just say, look, we don't want you to leave. We're going to buy in. Now, again, if you fail and you don't make the postseason, now you just show that your commitment to winning wasn't good enough. And if that's the case, he can go somewhere else and be able to play in for a winning team. I know the talk is of Dodgers, the talk is of Yankees. You make a trade. Here's the thing about for those who want to make a trade at the deadline right now. The top 10 teams that are in the top 10 farm system in Major League Baseball, really only one of them has actual money to make a trade and committed to signing him long term. That's the LA Dodgers. All right, you have Baltimore number 1. Well, they don't have the money really to go and make that move for it. D-backs doesn't have the money to make that move for it. Reds don't really have the money to make the move for it because they're building about young guys. Baltimore has young guys on the team. D-backs has young guys on the team. Reds have young guys in the big leagues. Guardians, they're not in they're a game out of or they're leading their division, but they're not a good team right now. So I'm not expecting them to make a move in that aspect of. Rays have young guys they don't want to part with. They don't have the money to do so either. Rangers could be an intriguing option. I can say they're going to be intriguing because they have money. They are winning their division, but I don't see the Angels trading him within the division. Yeah. Pirates are not competitive this year. Cardinals not competitive this year. Cubs are not competitive this year. So really the Dodgers are the only team in the aspect that have the players in the farm to trade for him, that are committed to doing so. They're at that point they can make that move and have the money later on, because that's what you want. If you're going to make a trade, you're saying we're trading and we have it. I know the talk is he's a rental at that point, but if you have a team like the Dodgers who have the money to go ahead and just say, hey, we'll trade for you, you're ours. By the end of the season, we'll go ahead and start. By close to the end of the season, we'll start negotiating for your contract to make you a LA Dodger there. But for other teams, I don't see you wanting to make this trade, because if the Angels fail, he's gone. So why give up why give up prospects? Why give up pieces to make a move now and let the Angels just burn to death? And then in the offseason 2024, we can't, because I know the Yankees are the biggest talk. Just said the Dodgers. How about the Atlanta Braves? Atlanta Braves could be very intriguing. They have the money. They have a young team built around it. They're printing money because of the battery, and they're the best team in baseball right now. I think, again, I know that a lot of the media talk is Dodgers and Yankees, Dodgers and Mets. There's some other teams out there that are going to make a play that have a better selling point than some of these other teams right now. But if you're the Angels, I can't see you making the trade, because your fan base will absolutely turn on you in a heartbeat, which, they don't like their owner. They're ready to turn on you. Trade Ohtani, and it's a done deal.
All right. Mo?
They can turn on me. They can turn on me all they want. If that guy's not giving me no signs that he's coming back, if we don't have any kind of like back and forth, if he's not giving me signs, his representation is not saying anything, I'm not going to bank on a 10% chance that he's coming back. They can be mad, but the ones that really know baseball, they'll understand we had a gun to our head and we didn't have much choice, because if he's not back, then he just walks. Will they love us more if he just walks? I don't think so. I think you have to get something back in return for somebody like that. So they could be angry at me, but if he's not committed to us, if he's saying, I don't think you're good enough in the big picture in terms of winning, which they might not be. The gamble would be to go ahead and make a couple of moves to make a push towards the postseason. But if that backfires and you don't make it, then you've given up those assets and he still walks. So to me, I would be more forward thinking and being more aggressive and saying, if you don't want to be here, if you're not committed to us, then we've got to do something that protects us and gives us a better chance going forward, because we have to look out for the health of our franchise.
So are you just going to accept any offer?
Not any offer, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to gamble that he's going to come back. I'm not going to do that, because if he just walks, the fan base is going to kill me for trading him. They're going to kill me even more for him walking.
But that's the thing, though, that the leverage is not in the Angels' favor, because it's known he's a free agent. Like, there's not a lot teams who trade for players at the deadline that are on expiring contracts in baseball have no leverage to really say, yeah, well, look, if you're the Dodgers, you're the number 2 farm system in baseball. You're gonna ask for, hey, I want your number 1, I want your number 5 prospect, and I want your number 11. Let's say top 11. And by the way, I want an MLB player too. I want a guy who's in the big leagues already. So I want 4 players, and I want some money involved in this. Dodgers gonna look at you and say, no, because you won't have him next year. So we'll give you 2 prospects and a big leaguer. I will throw a little bit of money your way just to put it as a sweetener. But you're the Angels. Well, that's a low ball offer at that point. It is a low ball offer. So what are you going to do? You have no leverage in this conversation here. So you're stuck. Like I said, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Exactly. Where the fan base is going to be is the fan base will have no sympathy, because you've had him for 4 years. You have had Shohei Ohtani for 4 years, and you have done nothing to build the winning team around him. You have done nothing to show for 4 years. Now you have to do something now to show that you're winning, because also on top of Ohtani, you have free agents later on that are going to be looking at the Angels and say, you had the best player in the league.
Yep.
And you've done nothing with him. You've had the best player in the league for the last decade in Mike Trout, and you've done nothing for him. So what are you going to do for me? They have to do something to make a move to show not only for the now but for the future, because like I said, the fan base is going to turn, because they're going to sit there and say, look, yeah, you screwed us this year, but you screwed us the last 15 years. You've done nothing over the last 15 years with Trout and now with Ohtani to show us that winning matters in LA.
If I'm the Angels owner, I am bringing in a new GM. I'm trading Ohtani. I'm trading Trout. And I'm just going to preach to the fans that, and they already hate the owner. They already hate him. So they can't hate him anymore.
Right.
So bring in a new GM, be like, my bad for the last 15 years of garbage. We literally had 2 of the best players of the last 30 or 40 years on our team and did nothing for you. So what are we going to do? All we can do. We're going to start over. And hopefully you come to games. I promise you we won't be as bad as the Oakland A's were. We're gonna be rough, but we're not gonna be that rough, because we're gonna get something decent back for Trout. We're not gonna get the haul for Ohtani. I agree, because we don't have the leverage at the deadline, and we're just gonna make the best we can. Because what happens? Here's what happens: they keep Ohtani, they finish under 500, they don't make the playoffs. He doesn't come back. Mm-hmm. Trout's hurt right now. He might come back before the end of the season. Doesn't matter. You still miss the playoffs. And then Trout turns 33 next season, I think. You're going to try to sign some players. They're going to be like, you weren't able to win with Trout and Ohtani. Now you just have Trout. He's pushing his mid-30s. You still have no pitching. Why would I go there? And you're going to suck for the next 15 years. At least take a swing. If you're gonna end up in the same spot, at least take a swing and hope you catch lightning in a bottle.
Right. See, that's the problem I think what's been going on with the Angels. And Chris and Jonathan, you can allude to this. They tried to invest so much in the hitting ability. They haven't invested in the pitching. I know they tried to go out and get Tyler Anderson. They did get Tyler Anderson away from the Dodgers, who had a great season last year. But I really don't think they invested enough in the pitching ability. They did get Hunter Renfroe. They did show something of enticing, of getting some bats, and that'll help Ohtani and Trout out. But what do you think went wrong? Did they not invest in enough pitching, or it's just the team, or it's just the team isn't just that good as a whole though? Like, what is it? What is it? Why have they failed with Trout and Ohtani? They were
Rally monkey. They need the rally monkey. That's
Rally
bring
monkey,
back the monkey. It would solve all the problems.
Love it. I'll go a step further in what was said as far as fire the GM, fire the coach. Which I mean, Phil Nevin's doing the best job he can do. I think you cannot blame Phil Nevin for the job that he is. He's doing what he can do. I think you need to actually go a little bit deeper. You need to clean house in the scouting department, because for the last 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, you have failed on the scouting side. You have brought in guys that, again, they have made moves. We won't sit here and say the Angels have not tried to make moves, but they've made the wrong moves. You go further back where they brought Josh Hamilton in. You brought C.J. Wilson from the Rangers in. You brought Noah Syndergaard in. Tyler Anderson right now. You have brought in Albert Pujols. Pujols was a good player. He was good, but he was in the back end of his career. He gave you some good seasons, and then he got old and got hurt. Anthony Rendon was a failure of a signing. You have brought in players after players after players, pitching and hitting, that have absolutely failed. So the scouting side has to get better. Somebody has to lose their job in the scouting department, because what you have done in evaluating players has not been good enough. And you're looking at, again, you're essentially banking on number 3 pitchers from other teams to come in and be your number 2 or number 1. Or guys who are hurt trying to rejuvenate their career using Syndergaard. Syndergaard should have been number 5.
Yes.
The Dodgers are learning that right now. They brought Syndergaard in to essentially be a filler of the rotation, number 5 guy. They had to use him as a number 3 right now because of the injuries they've sustained. And Syndergaard's not a number 3 guy. He's not a number 2 guy. He should have been a number 5 for the Angels. They had to use him as a number 3, number 2 because the pitching was just not good. So you're looking at it and saying, I'm going to sign the team that you came from. You were the number 3, number 4 guy, and you're going to plug in, and we're going to give you the opportunity to be the number 2. But they're not the number 2 guys. They're not a number 2 pitcher. They're not. There's a reason on better teams. Tyler Anderson, there was a reason why he was not a number 1, number 2, or number 3 guy. He was not. Because he was a back of the rotation guy who was dealing with injuries himself, and that's why he didn't get as much time with the Dodgers towards the back end of the season. And you're going to pay him like he's a top end type of guy. Their scouting department has failed this team, and it goes to the owner too. It goes to the owner saying, "Yeah, hey, we're going to overpay. You're going to pay Anthony Rendon, who had one good year in the Nationals, their World Series year. Great, awesome, good job. You're going to overpay him as if he's a top player in the league? No, not happening. It should not be." So all they've done was scouted wrong, overpaid, and are now biting the bullet because of it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So this is the last segment of the Jonathan segment. We get ready to move on to another segment. So, Jonathan, before you get up out of here, man, tell the people they can follow you at.
Hey, check me out on the show with you guys in the morning, but also as well my organization, Alpha Performance, on Facebook. Alpha Performance Baseball, Alpha Performance Softball, doing a lot of great things with the kids and that I coach out here in Dallas-Fort Worth. You can also find us on Twitter on our handle at @B_and_alpha. Check out a lot of things that we have going on. A lot of good things, as I said, with the kids in our organization, teaching them and growing them as players, but as well as young athletes as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good to have you on the morning show. So, other than that, we thank you so much, Jonathan. Other than that, we got a guy backstage for this last and final segment. He is a Titans fan. He got crucified this yesterday about DeAndre Hopkins signing. But hey, guess what? He called it. You gotta give him the credit. He called it. He called for DeAndre Hopkins. The man must have heard him. I don't know if he had a phone conversation with him before they come on to Tennessee, but he must have heard him out. He must have heard about. So we got my man Jay in the building for this last and final segment. How you doing this morning, Mr.
What's up, fellas? Good morning. How y'all doing? Shout out Jonathan. Great job. What's up?
Was good. So we're gonna talk about your Tennessee Titans, who just got DeAndre Hopkins, who I had for the last several years. But other than that, he must have heard you. I don't know if you got off the phone with him, told him to come to Tennessee, but he must have heard you because last week, the last Friday, you called him. You said, "Hey, bring me. I want DeAndre Hopkins on this team. We need receiver help, and I got to give you credit, man. He came through. He signed a 2-year deal, $26 million. So I'm gonna start with Mo at the top, man. How what you think about this move? The Titans got killed yesterday for the move. And also,
it was a great move.
Go ahead.
It's a great move. They needed a number one receiver. They got a number one receiver.
Yes, I think
if their offensive line can stay whole, then you're going to have Derrick Henry being Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill is a very good quarterback when he can work off of play action. When the Titans win first and second down, they're a completely different team. When you give him a weapon like D-Hop, especially in the red zone, I think that's going to benefit Tannehill. It's also going to open up other things for the tight end and the other wide receivers. So I do like the move. I know we joke around a lot, but when you get right down to it, just from a football point of view, the O-line is the key. If the O-line is whole and Derrick Henry is healthy, you've given Ryan Tannehill a legit number one receiver. I expect Tennessee to be a lot better than most because of what they have in terms of playmaking. When you've got a running back like Henry, when you've got a receiver like D-Hop, Tannehill will be a better version of himself. He will be solid. I expect Tannehill to probably throw for about 37 to 4,000 yards. He's going to have 26 touchdowns, maybe 10 picks. I think Tannehill is going to have a bounce back year. I think the Titans are going to be a lot better than people project them to be.
Jake, talk about it, man. Hey, you won.
Y'all might want to come to me last because I got a lot to say.
All right. So that's good. That's good. I'm gonna let you get it off. But go ahead, Chris, because I do got something to say about D-Hop for D-Hop. Go ahead, Chris.
So let's not confuse the D-Hop signing with the Julio Jones signing, right? Two different players, different parts of their career, different health factors in their career. D-Hop is still a viable option in this league. He is still an elite receiver in this league. He brings with him not only the resume, but he brings with him the fact that he can still do it. He did it last season. So everyone wants to kill Tennessee because they're like, oh, what are they going to do to destroy the end of D-Hop's career? He's not at the end of his career yet.
Right.
Now, he may not be in the middle of his prime. He may be coming out of his prime, but he's still good to go for another 2-3 seasons at least. So let's not have that narrative because I believe that narrative is false. Second thing I like about this move is what it's going to do for Burks. Burks was an emerging receiver in Tennessee. I don't think he was a 1, but I think he was a good 2, who is only going to be better now because you have a legitimate 1. And that's what a legitimate 1 does for your team. It takes all your other pieces that maybe weren't 1s, but it makes them better. Because what does a 2 need to be successful? It needs a 1. Yeah, a 2 can't be a 1 if they're truly a 2, but a 2 can be a damn good 2 when you got a 1 on the other side of the field. And that's what D-Hop is going to do. And like Mo said, I know that Tannehill is not the guy that's going to throw it down the field 40 yards. I am a Miami Dolphin fan. I know my Ryan Tannehill very, very well. And I could not have been happier the success he had in Tennessee when he first went there. Because when you ride with a guy for as long as we rode with Tannehill, you learn to like him. All right? And that's just what it was. Most Dolphin fans, although we felt it was time for Tannehill to go, we were happy to see the success he was having in Tennessee. Not when they played Miami, but when Miami was already out of it, you can take a step back as a football fan and be like, you know what? Damn good for that guy. Because he did go through it in Miami, and he had decent seasons in Miami. And then you put some damn talent around the man, and he's going to AFC championship games. Because we knew he had that in him. We just never put the talent around him in Miami. Now I sit here and like, man, what could he do in Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all that? I'm like, okay, man, all right. But Tannehill is that guy. He is an above average quarterback. He is a top 15 quarterback. He dealt with some injury stuff last season. He's not washed like people are saying. He just needs the pieces around him. He didn't have them in Miami. He lost a 1 when they traded away his top receiver. And we act like that wasn't a thing. You act like taking away one of the top 10 receivers in the league isn't going to impact the quarterback. So losing that receiver plus the injuries, last season was a bit of a mess. But stop acting like one of those 2 backups is going to come take his job this year because they're not. He's going to be fine. They're going to put up numbers, and they're going to compete for a division. Now, all that being said, I will say this. I don't think, and this just goes for that entire division, I think the winner of that division obviously goes to the playoffs. I don't think the second place team gets a wild card.
No, you have to.
I think the AFC is too stacked for that to happen.
Yep.
So I do think Tennessee is a playoff contender, but I only think their only road to the playoffs is through their division, which I think they're going to compete for.
Yep. So I'm going to name some quarterbacks that DeAndre Hopkins have played with and made them look better than they actually were. So, and plus I am a diehard Houston fan, so I would know this, and that's speaking highly of DeAndre Hopkins and how good and the superstar he really actually is that people really don't know. And bashing the Tennessee Titans. Now, you expect me as a Texan fan not to like him or not to like anybody in our division, but I'm not that type of guy. I got respect for everybody in my division and everybody in football. I don't like the Cowboys. That's the only team I really actually can't stand. I can't stand the Cowboys, but I do respect them. But I don't like them. But other than that, Brian Hoyer is a backup. It's not really good, not really that good. He had a great season. He had a solid season with the Houston Texans. But in that playoff game versus the Chiefs, he was embarrassing in that playoff game versus the Chiefs. He was anemic in that playoff game. God bless this man. So Ryan Mallett, who was in a quarterback competition with Brian Hoyer, who got mad and couldn't get up, didn't want to wake up in the morning, and went to Rick Smith and made an excuse talking about his phone was off, and he was cut the very next day because he missed a flight to Miami. That day we got whooped 56-0, and that was straighten up all season. But other than that, he got mad, he got upset, but he played. DeAndre Hopkins, was sensitive to that. Brock Osweiler, the worst quarterback that ever played in Houston. Imagine him still getting over 1,000 yards with that quarterback right there. Now, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson was the best quarterback he actually ever played with, pretty much. Deshaun Watson is no doubt the best quarterback. But the moment he left, Deshaun Watson still was able to elevate his game. But I'm talking about the quarterbacks that actually wasn't really good. Now, Kyler Murray, at his best, at his talent, is top 10. But, hey, let's be honest, that catch that he made over Tre'Davious White in those three Buffalo Bills was insane. This dude don't drop a pass. He got the best hands in football. I'm going to tell you that right now. Any pass in his vicinity, he's catching the ball. He's coming down with it. And that's what I think is going to help Ryan Tannehill out when he stays healthy. Now, Ryan Tannehill is already, to me, he's a top 15 quarterback. Definitely respect his game. And he used to be a receiver. The dude is athletic. He used to be a receiver in A&M. He played a lot of receivers, so that comes in. He has some athletic ability, and I think this is a perfect situation for Treylon Burks to improve on, because last year was a lot of pressure. He went through in training camp. He wasn't in the best of physical shape going into camp and stuff like that. But I think having DeAndre Hopkins are definitely going to help him. And that tight end last year, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he was solid for him last year. That's another weapon. So DeAndre Hopkins are going to open up the field for a lot of these guys to get some open opportunities. Yes, they're still going to try to double him. They're still going to try to double him. But this is an opportunity for other guys in that receiving corps to step up and make plays as well. Plus, you got Derrick Henry. You can't forget about him. To me, I think he's still the best running back in all of football. I think I don't care if he had a down season, if he got hurt. To me, as long as that guy on the field, that's going to open up everything in the play action game for Ryan Tannehill. So now, Jay, you called it that weekend. You called it that weekend. You wanted them. You got them. So talk to us, Jay. Get it all.
You guys all made some really great points, man, and I'm quite happy to hear them, to be honest with you. I called it. I just try to speak it into existence, tweeted them, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature. But let's just get down to it, man. If you looked at our offense last year, it was abysmal. Like, it was terrible, especially in the receiving side, right? Do you know who led our team in touchdowns last year, or who had the most touchdowns on our team? Like, Mike Vrabel, our coach, had the most touchdown as a receiver for our team. Like, he led it, and he had 12, and obviously he's not playing. So our wide receiver depth was bad, and we knew trading AJ Brown was going to be bad. We knew what we were going into. Treylon Burks had the pressure dealing with AJ Brown being gone and having to replace him. So Robert Woods didn't live up to expectations. He was supposed to be the number 2 and things of that nature. So people are just like, why did D Hop choose to go to Tennessee? Well, it was between him. It was between Tennessee and New England, right? Every other team had the opportunity to make an offer to him, but they chose not to for whatever reason that it was, whether they didn't believe in him, cap space, whatever the case might be. Like, he didn't come out and say, I want to play for Tennessee. He went with the team that showed the most interest in him. So, yes, he's going to definitely be an upgrade in the wide receiver room. Like I said, the Traylon Burks and to Westbrook-Akina, to all the other young guys, Kyle Phillips behind him. He's going to be helpful, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad he is there, because that's what I thought. I was hoping for Julio. I was hoping that he was going to be able to help the younger receivers, be a lot better. And he was only there for a year. He was injury prone, but DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not saying we're Super Bowl bound. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just happy that they actually went after him, because they saw that the struggle at the wide receiver position. We didn't get a receiver in the draft, or we didn't get a high-ranking receiver in the draft, and a lot of Titans fans was a little disappointed. But to come back and get a guy like D-Hop is definitely exciting for the fan base, and we look forward to it. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are saying Tennessee is where wide receivers die, and all that craziness. But you got to look at, Randy Moss was over the hill. Andre Johnson was just about over the hill. Julio was on one leg, and so, like you all mentioned, DeAndre is coming in with a little, he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He tweeted yesterday, he likes dealing with doubters and people and haters, and that's, of that nature. Everybody wanted him to go to New England. So I expect all the QB slander. And to Mo's point, yes, I think Ryan Tannehill will have a 2020 year where he did throw for about 35, 38,000 and 33 touchdowns. May not be those numbers, but hopefully it'll be there. But we got our offensive line is revamped. We drafted Peter Skoransky from Northwestern. So we got a few free agents. We are losing one our right tackle, which we got to fill because he got caught gambling. So we got to fill that hole for right now. So this team is going to be very different than what y'all saw last year. It's going to be very upbeat. We got obviously a new offensive coordinator in Tim Kelly. So this team is going to be different. They're going to move at a faster pace, and they're going to have more weapons. So as Titan fans, we're excited, we're happy, and we just ready to see what happens on the field, man. Jacksonville, they're gonna be right there. They got, I think, a very underrated trio of wide receivers / offense. I mean, they're gonna be a battle. The Texans, coach, your squad is gonna be a battle, but we ready for it. Our defense has got better. We got Harold Landry back, so we're excited, man. We think we right in the mix of things now.
Definitely. Like I say, I can't wait till the season start. I hear a lot of talking, but hey, you got to come out. One thing about it, you got to come out that locker room and just see it. So again,
for me, it's just the Ryan Tannehill slander. Like, everybody's, and I get it. Ryan Tannehill hasn't lived up to a lot of the elite quarterbacks, especially in the playoffs. I understand that. But in the regular season, he's pretty solid. So if you want to go on Ryan Tannehill, talk about his postseason performance. It's not all his fault, but he has had some games. Obviously, everybody remembers what happened in Cincinnati, that playoff game. But Ryan Tannehill has been pretty solid in Nashville. So Ryan is the best option, and we're gonna run with Ryan, and we're gonna see what it get us.
By the way, he is, like I said earlier, he is one up on Dak AFC title game. So he is one up. That's one thing you can go about for. He is one up on Dak Prescott. But again, that's another discussion for another day. Well, y'all had that discussion in the group chat, which is I never had to have a discussion. But again, other than that, we definitely gonna see. My focus is on the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. That's who my actually focus is gonna be on. We'll take it from there. So I'm gonna start with Chris down at the bottom. So we're gonna have talk about who's going to be the most surprised quarterback in 2023 that you're going to be looking at. Chris, we're going to start with you.
I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big year. I really think he is. If you look at his schedule, you look at the quarterbacks that he plays, he's probably in the second weakest division outside of the NFC South. And then his skill set. He has an elite skill set. It's his second year in this system. He has stability around him. I think this season we're really going to see what Trevor Lawrence is. His rookie year was very tumultuous because of what he had for a head coach. And then he popped. He popped in season 2, and it's just going to get better in season 3 for him. So I think he's going to have a great year. I think Tua's going to have a big year. Tua led the league in many quarterback offensive stats last year, and he missed 4 total games, and he missed 3/4 of 2 other games. So he nearly missed 6 games last season, and he still led the league in several of those key metrics that you rate quarterbacks on. Obviously, his health is going to be a big issue, but everyone's health is a big issue. If you look at, Lamar, for example, people are saying Lamar is going to do this, this, and that, and Lamar's been hurt just as much as Tua has been. More, actually, if you look at his last 2 or 3 seasons. So I think Tua's going to have a big year, and I think that Lawrence is going to have a big year.
Yes, indeed. Jay, who's going to be your surprise quarterback in 2023?
I got two or three, and one of them we just talked about, Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to have a big year. I think Justin Fields is going to have a big year this year. I think last year we saw him finally finding, his way in that offense. They got some much needed pieces on both sides of the ball, especially on the offensive side, minus Claypool, but I think he's going to be okay. Justin Fields, and I'm gonna go on the ledge with this one. I'm gonna go Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love might have a surprising year. I think a lot of us wrote Jordan Love off because we don't really know what to expect from him, and he's got somewhat of the pressure of replacing Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think he has any pressure because everybody's looking for them to be bad. And Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson.
Yep.
Yeah, they showed that they can be pretty decent. They showed some promise last year, and I think they're playing carefree out there. So I think that Jordan Love is going to surprise quite a few people next year. And Bryce Young from Carolina.
All right, go ahead, Mo.
So he took one of mine. I'm going with 2 guys at different ends of the spectrums of their careers. Bryce Young is one. I think this kid is a student of the game. I think he's more poised and NFL ready than most people do. He's going to have some ups and downs. Most rookies do. But I think by the midway point of the season, you're going to see him turning around. I think Bryce Young's going to end up having a really good rookie season. It wouldn't surprise me if Carolina's in the mix in that division because it really is wide open. I know a lot of people have the Saints winning it, but to me, I would say this. Because Derek Carr is supposed to be the best quarterback in that division, and because it's set up for him to win the division, that's a lot of pressure, and not everybody can handle that kind of pressure. So I look for Bryce Young to have a really good season, and I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is going to have a bounce-back year. Sean Payton will get the best version of Russell Wilson. They're going to be a run-first team, which Russell Wilson will thrive off of because he's very good in play-action pass. I think they'll be pass selective. He'll be more efficient, but more productive. He'll look like the Russell Wilson of old. So I expect Russell Wilson to have a really good bounce-back season.
Yeah, I'm going to take the guy that Mo just basically said, Derek Carr. I think it's a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. If this is the year he has to elevate the Saints. I believe the Saints were missing a quarterback last year, and I believe that's what they were missing. They already have elite defense. They've been at elite defense going on two or 3 years now. They struggle at the quarterback situation. I think that's what the struggle was. Jameis Winston, he had messed up ribs last year, at the beginning of last year, which I don't think he should have actually played last year. You gave Taysom Hill a big contract, which was a big time mistake on the Saints, New Orleans Saints behalf. You went with Andy Dalton, who was not really bad, but he's also not good enough either on the offensive side of the ball. But Derek Carr, that's an upgrade. You never played with a top 5 defense ever. As long as you was playing with the Las Vegas Raiders, they were never a good defense. At no time in his career, they were never a good defense. They always was very good on the offensive side, but never can get stops consistently on the defensive side. So now you go to New Orleans, they have a top 5, top 3 defense. They're going to give you some opportunities. They're going to give you a lot of opportunities where you can score. They're going to force teams to turn the basketball over, get you in some situations, get you in some comfortable situations in the red zone. You also got a running back in Jamal Williams, who had a big year with the Detroit Lions, who's a red zone threat. Yes, you're going to lose Alvin Kamara for a while, but that's what you make the move to get Jamal Williams, because you knew that was going to happen. You knew you were going to be in trouble with Alvin Kamara. You got Chris Olave, who was really good as a rookie last year. Michael Thomas, could he be himself? If he can be anywhere near himself, then you got your 1-2 tandem right there. And then the NFC South, like Mo alluded to, Panthers or the Saints, either I believe it's going to be those two teams. They're going to fight. They're going to fight for that division, and I believe only one team comes up out of that division. I don't believe two teams come out of the division, but I do think two teams in the NFC South and the NFC East. I believe two teams come out of that division, makes the playoffs. I don't believe two teams in the NFC South do it. The North, I believe you'll have two teams in the North. I could believe you'll have two teams in the North. Possibly you can have a third team, and that third team will be in a wild card spot, will probably be the Seattle Seahawks, because I got the San Francisco 49ers winning that division. So what that tells you, I believe one team can make the playoffs in the NFC South. That's you have to win the division. Now Derek Carr don't have to go through being the fourth best quarterback in the AFC West. Now you're in a weaker NFC, you have to get the job done. So it is a lot of pressure on Derek Carr. You got your money. Now it's time for you to deliver with a top 5 defense. There's no reason for him to have a terrible season this year with that he had with the Las Vegas Raiders. There will be no excuses for Derek Carr. So other than that, guys, anything else you guys want to touch on? Do y'all guys want to give a sleeper quarterback or anything? Y'all got something to throw out there before we move on? Right, so the last and final topic of the morning, Andrew Luck. Mo, we'll come with you up on this one. Does Andrew Luck deserve to be a Hall of Fame quarterback? Should he be considered as a Hall of Fame quarterback? Do you think he deserves to be a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Talented guy, put up a lot of big numbers when he was with Indy. I don't think he had a long enough career to launch him into the Hall of Fame. I just don't. There are a lot of guys that have bigger numbers and better resumes, and they're not in the Hall of Fame. I just think if Andrew Luck wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, then he should have just sucked it up and played a few more years and put some more things on his resume. But I don't think he's a Hall of Fame talent. You know how you draft somebody and they project? He was everything they projected him to be. And so he wasn't a disappointment. I just don't think he put forth enough of a resume and had a long enough playing career to where I would say he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
All right. Jay, you think Andrew Luck is a Hall of Fame quarterback? You think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
I'm kind of with Mo. He had a short career. Number wise, he put up some numbers. He definitely put up some numbers. I think he'll probably get in, but it's gonna be a while, and it depends on who's on the ballot. But it's definitely not first ballot. He's been with 4 Pro Bowls, won a comeback player of the year. But I won't be surprised if he gets in. But I don't think he's Hall of Fame. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. No.
All right. Chris?
So the conversation comes down to this. Are we looking at longevity, or are we looking at when greatness took place? So if you just look at what he did in his career with what he did it with. So he always had his entire career, his defense never ranked higher than 23rd. That was the best defense he had. Over his entire career in Indy, on average, his defenses gave up 23.5 points a game. All right. So that means that if he wanted to go out there and win a game, he had to put up 24 on offense. Otherwise, they weren't winning that day. You take out their best defensive season, and his defenses gave up almost 25 points a game. So another 1.5 when you remove what their best defensive season was. On top of that, look at the weapons that were around him and look at the offensive line struggles that team had for the entire 7 seasons, which is part of why he retired early, right? He got banged up. He was taking a lot of hits. He couldn't stay healthy after his first 4 years because they couldn't protect him. But despite all of that, he went 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 his first 3 years in the league. He won Rookie of the Year. He went to 4 Pro Bowls. He won Comeback Player of the Year when he missed the entire 2017 season and then came back and went 10-6. So I don't think the Hall of Fame should be how long did you play as your first qualifier. I think it should be how great were you while you played. And I dare say, and this may seem a little controversial, but I feel pretty confident in saying this. If you took a Patrick Mahomes, you took a Tom Brady, and you put them on a team with no defense and no offensive line and very limited weapons, I don't know if they would have had the success that Andrew Luck did out of the gate. I'm not saying Andrew Luck is a better quarterback than Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, but I'm saying if you look at the careers of those two guys, they've always had something, right? Brady had the defenses early in his career, and then they upgraded offense here and there, but he always had the offensive line. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, defense was kind of questionable early on in his career. It's gotten better over time. He had elite weapons and still does have elite weapons. And his offensive line, Andy Reid fixed overnight. All these other great quarterbacks in the league, they all had something. They all had one component for them ready to go. And of course, they all filled gaps because that's what greatness does. Greatness fills gaps. His greatness filled every gap. His greatness filled every hole that the Colts had because the only hole they didn't really have was him. So I think that I agree with Jay. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think he's going to sneak in on the back end of his eligibility. And I'm not going to be upset by it because I think if you look at what he did for those 7 years, it wasn't long. I get that. But I don't think that greatness should be to have the shine taken off of it just because it didn't happen for, 15 years. I think that what we saw in him in those 6 years he played was greatness.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's why I think it's kind of tricky because kind of from what we've seen from the Hall of Fame, they want some like longevity and accolades, and he definitely has the accolades like you mentioned, and he has the stats, but the longevity, depending on who's going in, like I don't know if they Phillip Rivers or somebody, like, who do you pick between Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck? Like you said, are you going with longevity or are you going with stats and this, that, and the other? Or even a Matt Ryan, you know what I'm saying, who had a Super Bowl appearance, won an MVP. So I think it's tricky. I don't really know what the criteria for the Hall of Fame is anymore. But
I agree. Well, and I'm not talking about the longevity. I mean, look, Terrell Davis got the Hall of Fame, and I think he deserved to get in the Hall of Fame. He didn't have a long career.
Years.
His career was cut short. I thought Andrew Luck was a great player when he played. I don't know if he was great enough to be in the Hall of Fame. You're right about the defense, but I live here. I actually got to see the guy play, and as gifted as he was, he didn't help his defense out a lot all the time either. He threw a lot of interceptions. Like, you can say how much they scored, but he kind of helped the other team score. So, as gifted, you know what I mean? Like, he kind of helped. Go back and look at all them comebacks he had. They're all the comebacks.
You ain't throw them against my team.
Right, they're comebacks when he threw 2-3 interception games. So I think he was talented. I don't question his talent, and he had a nice record when he started off. No arguments there. I just don't think it's clear cut that he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yep, I agree. I agree with Jay. Hey, he ain't do that against us. He killed us. When it came, he was a different video game. We would get cooked by him, but he did have a history of throwing the ball to the other team. But other than that, it was one more question I want to ask everybody before we get up out of here, though. I know the injuries got to Andrew Luck. But do you think they got the offensive line a little bit too late for him? Because there was a struggle with his offensive line. It was definitely a struggle with the offensive line during this time for him to having that lacerated kidney. He got hit a lot. Do you think it was a little bit too late and he was gassed out is the reason why he kind of retired?
It was way too late.
Go ahead, Mo. You
it was way too late. He didn't just scramble. Like, he had the ability to run, but he didn't want to run. He didn't have a choice. If he stayed in the pocket, he was gonna get murdered. he ran a lot more than he wanted to, which means he took additional punishment that he didn't want to. They didn't fix the offensive line till he was already beat up, and that was way too. I would say they fixed it two seasons too late. Had they taken care of that early in his career, now you're talking about somebody who would have had that 10, 12, 15-year career, and we'd be looking at it. And again, I'm not denying how great a talent he was in the short time that we saw, but if he had that line and that support, and I think Chris knows this, they didn't have a run game either. They didn't have a run game. They basically had Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton, and some other guys. That's what they had. So had he had more weapons around him and a better offensive line, we wouldn't be talking about is he a Hall of Famer. He would have been looked upon in the same light as somebody like Peyton Manning and others of that ilk. That's how talented and gifted he was. I just think the franchise as a whole didn't put enough around him or never thought to protect him.
And the funny thing is, Colts fans look at this and they're like, well, by year 4 or 5, our line was better. Okay, great. Years 1 through 4, he got the crap beat out of him.
Yep.
And as an athlete and as, someone who's taking that beating, the mindset changes. You go through 4 years of just getting beat down. Then you hit year 4 or 5. What happens? All the injuries start ticking in. He missed half a season because he had one injury. Then a year later, he missed an entire season with a shoulder injury. So your body gets beat down for 4 or 5 years. Then the injuries start coming because you're not getting hit as much, but you're still getting hit. So now the injuries are piling up. It all goes together. So I get it. Do I like the fact that he walked out, during preseason, right before the season started? No. Could he have done that better and put the Colts in a better spot? Sure. Could the Colts have done better and protected the only good thing they had on their team for those 5 or 6 years? 100%. And that's the thing that, I don't buy into this whole players owe teams things or teams owe players. It's a business relationship. And he literally gave his body to that organization for 7 years, 6 of which he played, 1 of which he missed the entire year because of injury. And in the early part of that, they didn't put enough around him to keep him there for 15 years. And that's on the Colts.
Definitely.
Man, I don't know about you, Coach, but when they said Andrew Luck retired, I said, yes, finally.
I could. You lie about that.
Andrew Luck cooked my team, man. He had a perfect record against us, I believe. But to answer your question, they were definitely too late with the offensive line, man. Like Mo alluded to, if you would have got this line to him 2 years prior, he might be still playing. You know what I'm saying? Especially with running back like Jonathan Taylor and things of that nature. So they definitely did him a disservice. And like you all said, when you getting hit and sacked by these, 285, 300-pound guys, not only does it wear on your body, it wears on your mental. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have a running back, and so he was always dropping back. Like you said, he had to put up 24 points a game, and they didn't have a running game, so he had to do it. And the Colts got greedy, thinking that because they had Andrew Luck, they could kind of put a Band-Aid or kind of skip around the offensive line, which it didn't help at all. And that's why you saw Cincinnati. They went. Joe Burrow got hurt. They went out and they tried to go fix the offensive line because. Yeah, Joe Burrow's good, but damn, we want him here for a while. And Andrew Luck, the coach did a bad job with that. And I'm not mad at him for retiring. He's doing what he's doing, living his life, and moved on. So I'm not mad at Andrew Luck. And like Chris said, man, it's a business, man. You got to do what's best for you. So they were definitely too late, and I'm just happy for it.
Yep.
So look what happened in Kansas City with Andy Reid. The first thing he did was address the offensive line.
Yeah.
And why? Because we would rather have Patrick have B weapons where he has time to run around and make decisions and get his B weapons open than give him A weapons where he's running for his life every play because we didn't give him a line. So Andy Reid came in there and said, we're going to protect the quarterback. Because Alex Smith was coming off his injuries in Kansas City. We're going to get the line right. We're going to protect the quarterback, and we're going to go from there. And that's what they did. And look at the success they're having. Now, granted, Patrick is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That helps the situation. But it also helps when he's not running for his life.
Yeah, because you look when his line was bad, he got smacked in the Super Bowl.
Yep. So I brought up that question because my guy right here in the comment section, E, was actually probably one of the first ones that alluded that they got coach got the offensive line a little bit too late for Andrew Luck. So I had to ask to throw it out on the panel. We all on the same page with your E up on that when they got the offensive line a little bit too late. But shout out to you, man. You was one of the first ones that alluded to that, looked up that and alluded to that. They did get the offensive line a little bit too late. But other than that, fellas, we had a great show this morning, man. We had a great show. Everything went well. And Mo, we're gonna bring back your boxing segment tomorrow. I'm gonna make sure you get put on the list tomorrow. We gonna bring that. I gotta get the Mo boxing segment right back. I gotta get it right back soon. Gotta get it right back. We will have it back on to you. But other than that, man, Mo, tell the people they can follow you at.
Find me right here on the Empire Sports Empire Network. You guys can catch me later on tonight on the cheap seats. So it should be a blast.
There we go. Jay, tell the people they can follow you. Man, I got to give you a lot of credit, man. Like I say, I respect my whole division. I respect everybody. I know the Tennessee Titans used to be Houston, but I respect y'all, man. And you called that right on the head. So you definitely get your credit on that for Deandre Hopkins. You called for him. You got him. You see how good God works. He gave you.
I see him.
There we go.
I see him.
Yeah, there we go.
All the time, man. Look,
they really called it. They got him.
And to my Titans fans, man, look, man, don't just because we got D-Hop, don't go all off the rails talking all crazy and reckless. I see some of y'all out there too. Y'all getting a little reckless with your comments, man. Calm down, let the season play out. But y'all can find me, Jay Jones, on all 4 social media platforms, YouTube channel 613 Faye Productions, D Man Cave Sports Podcast, which is also on Apple and Spotify, and you can find me here Monday, Tuesdays on with you guys. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, mornings. This is the place to be. And if y'all don't do so already, make sure you are following us on Facebook. Come find our Facebook group, because if you follow us on Facebook, you have access to all of the shows on the Empire. We have like 15 different shows that we're running throughout the week. So there's always great content here. So if you're joining us in the mornings, join us in the afternoons, join us in the evenings. We got stuff everywhere.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No introduction for me. Y'all know y'all gonna find me at later, man. Y'all gonna find me doing the championship game between the Rockets and the Cleveland Cavaliers later tonight. At least both of those teams have a chance to win something other than the 76ers ain't gonna win nothing. At least one of us gonna have a ring on our finger tonight or made it to a damn championship game. So other than that, for Coach Dante, my guy Mo, my guy Jay, and Chris down here. Shout out to y'all. We'll see y'all when the cheap seats come up at 6 o'clock. Y'all don't want to miss that. Have a good rest of y'all day, y'all.